Development Goal 3, which is health and well-being. And there I want to take you through a little bit in depth of which what is happening in Sri Lanka and how it has affected the health and the well-being. So we talk about the United Nations has put this 2030 by 2030 a lot of things to happen across the globe, but uh, not always no things goes by what we have plans, and the challenges comes up, and that's where which happens in all of our life. We plan something, we put goals, but the challenges comes. We that's how we learn. And I see this as a global challenge. It is not only pertain to Sri Lanka. Of course, Sri Lanka is going through it, but we as a nations together can learn from Sri Lanka and avoid certain mistakes which we take into consideration, and also help Sri Lanka as a part of a neighboring country. It can happen to anyone, it can happen to any countries, but the mistakes they did, the decisions they have taken, all that has to be taken into account. So when we talk about Aruna Vadekar ma'am spoke a lot about the good health and well-being, the goals which have been planned regarding the child, infantry, marital, marriage, death, and as Pallavi ma'am also spoke about gratitude, we all could understand because we are all life coaches. We come from the same space and we practice gratitude. And when sitting in India, when we see how other countries, other worlds are suffering, I think every one of us has to get into that gratitude to bring a lot of positive energy to the world. Which, when we start working towards that, it has been spoken by a lot of speakers. So I will take it into a very different perspective of what is being spoken, because Pallavi ma'am has given a very, very great thoughts about the mindset of keeping ourselves in a positive and gratitude mindset, which will, of course, as a person, bring a lot of good health to us and will help us for the well-being. But when we talk about one of the goal, I want to focus here. By 2020, the United Nations want to halve the number of global deaths and injuries from road traffic accidents. Of course, with respect to the road traffic accidents, we are still taking measure, but the number of global deaths, they want to make it half of it. But no, pathetically, the COVID came, and there was an increase, though the other deaths came down. No, the typhoid, the malaria, whatever it is, because even no, getting a lot of typhoid has come down because we are not exposed. We didn't step out of the home, but predominantly there was a lot of death we had to face, and it's a major threat to the goal. And going forward, controlling the death aspect is one of the crucial things. So before pandemic, of course, the health sector was growing well, and in fact, it was a stage where doctors and scientists started feeling we are creating a shift in the medical world. And the COVID came, the challenge has grown, and still we have to continuously prove ourselves like how far we can go in terms of medical and development in science. So when we talk about Sri Lanka, when we get inside Sri Lanka, keeping this mental health and well-being up and overall health and well-being as a goal, and the gap today which Sri Lanka faces, because the United Nations is trying to bring things closer, but things happen at one part in Ukraine, Russia, and other part in Sri Lanka and Syria. The wars are going. So everywhere, if you take Africa, of course, there is a lot. Yesterday, there was a lot of intake about how we should not waste the food and how we have to take care with respect to no hunger. Considering all in this, when we come to Sri Lanka, no, Sri Lanka was already having a lot of stress with respect to this, and poverty rate was relatively low. But until 2021, they were doing very good in strong health sectors, and the lots of report shows that there were a lot of care given for both the government hospitals and the private-based hospitals. So, but suddenly they went into the economic crisis. When we see what are the reasons, this were the reasons predominantly spoken about largely across the globe. So there is a shortage of the foreign currency and the twin deficit. So which happened, the budget was also not properly planned, and also the current account deficit, which they could not run the country, and the expenditure was more than the income. And of course, the government had to decide to reduce the tax so that I'm getting little bit into economy, but because of the economic crisis only, the whole world also get into that wealth being, because even if we have a financial crisis on our home end, at the home end, it puts a lot of stress for definitely, for sure. So this is the same thing when the globally we are facing this economic crisis, or when a particular country, all the people there are going through a lot of stress actually. So it has affected all the sectors with respect to the Sri Lankan. So primary, what it has gone is the chemical fertilizers. They jumped. They wanted to evacuate. They ban all the fertilizers, but they realized the geopolitical conditions is not going to help them, and the crops they expected was not grown. They were not able to make the profit or the outcome, so they had to switch back. But within that span of years, the production went to a very low stage. And the daily wages affected, the footwear industry affected. We all know the handloom industry, where the yarn was actually exported from India for Sri Lanka. But because of the pandemic, because of all the global transactions stopped, they had to face a loss. And of course, tourism and tea, Sri Lanka tea, they were surviving a lot on this, and because of this they had to stop. So when it sees some ratios, how Sri Lanka has gone to 100% of loss, like especially when it comes to the trade, it was 6.5% ban for the international travelers. Towards April 2020, when it was a peak COVID, it went to 100%. There was not even a few persons who were visiting Sri Lanka, and that took a lot of toll on the health sector, to say. So how one area affects other area is what we have to see here. Of course, there are lots of talks going about this, but Sri Lankans are facing a very, very critical stage, not able to provide a regular medicines, and there are no heart surgeries, kidney surgeries, other basic surgeries going to happen. The people had to wait, like how we have waited during the COVID for many things. We have seen a lot of people. Still now the cases are continuing. The people have to wait because of the loss of resources. And so 90%, 95% of inpatient care and outpatient care was taken care at the public health facilities. But what they say is they need a lot of resources, especially, and the supply chain, which was stopped because of their insufficient funds, has to bring in. So, of course, each and every common man started facing this no inflation rate, which has affected them, and to which has gone to the basics need, as like we all say, food, water. But doctor visits and medicines have even become increasingly expensive. And now the COVID spread, and of course, we all know how much we need to spend for COVID if it becomes no life-threatening disease. We had to get admitted in the hospitals. And think about Sri Lanka, where already they are facing the economic crisis, and the hospital visits is going to cost them double, triple, which the burden falls on the common man. It's not going to affect anybody. And the common man suffers from the physical well-being. He cannot do that. He gets into depression, anxiety, stress. How I'm going to survive with my family, and they are not able to get even the basic medicines. Is what, so which has given a lot of psychological impact to that country. And what they say, it has also affected the MSME sectors, small entrepreneurs who are budding. Already they face a lot of challenges. They don't know what to have. And we have been talking about having a gratitude mindset and positive mindset, and they don't know whether they will be able to do the work for tomorrow. Who will buy them? Because they are not brought to the international markets. The country is not taking steps to show their small budding entrepreneurs the crafts, the handicrafts, to our neighboring countries, so that we can buy. There are people wanting to buy, but we don't know what is the what is the expert skills within Sri Lanka apart from the tourism and the tea, which we all commonly know. There are a lot of things to understand. The government has to take certain measures, and of course, with such a tropical climate, the people face a lot of burden in wearing the mask and other things, which we also go through as a common man. And what I want to say is, any psychological effect, when your future is ambiguous, complex, and it is unpredictable. And especially if we as a person face trauma, the death of a loved one is going to bring an insecurity in us, which some of us have faced in this COVID. We have lost our relatives, parents, neighbors. That is going to bring a lack of fear, death, uncertainty, and ambiguousness, which every individual in Sri Lanka is facing that today. The global nation trying to do something, but the other end, it is going in the extreme opposite direction, which makes very tough for the United Nations to put things which cannot happen. It's going to happen through all of us coming together, putting our 1% point, not 1% will bring a small shift in that country. Because we can't be saying, oh, it's our neighboring country, what is going to bother us? It's affecting us also in a way which we can't even think. So, of course, there is going to be a lot of anxiety, stress, PTSD. The children will suffer. Today, in fact, we counselors, we always say the impact of COVID, we think we can manage. Still, some of us are struggling. We take medical help, some professional psychiatrist help, counselors help. But after 5 years, the children, what they have gone through, the traumatical phase in this 2 years, will come out as a PTSD symptom disorder that we have to figure it out. And think about this 2-3 years of economic stress that every individual in Sri Lanka might be facing if they are not wealth or secured in their home style, the lifestyle. We have to think a lot of even suicidal and dysfunctional impulsivity, lot will happen. So, United Nations, they are open to help. United Nations are ready to help. India has already given 1 billion from our country and also. But the question is it going to the layman who is definitely in need? How can we work around this? Every country is ready to help. Nobody is going to say that we are not. Everybody, whatever the funds we have, the countries, but is it reaching the right persons? When it comes to the entrepreneurship, we talk about India is moving towards entrepreneurship. When entrepreneurship has to be seen as an very crucial factor in Sri Lanka at this point of time, because only entrepreneurs can increase the GDP of the country at this point of time. We don't know how. It's a strong, powerful industry, entrepreneurship. Every individual can start doing something, can work on the GDP. It will take time, definitely, for sure, but there is an option. And a lot of entrepreneurs who have started business in the recent years, they had to shut down, which has happened across the globe. But these entrepreneurs need a lot of support, mental health support, counseling support to make sure that, yes, I can win. Because entrepreneurship is all about perseverance and hard work and dedication. They might lose it so fast because there is no way option open there, right? So what I would suggest, as a part of my suggestions with all the research I've done in the last few days, there should be NGOs working inside the country of Sri Lanka through other parts of the world, so that seeing that the resources directly reach the people, how much ever we are going to spend. We can talk, we can say that I will do this, but whether it's reaching to the core person who are suffering is the question we need to think about before getting into this. And the geopolitical condition, the country has to decide whether the soil will help going towards agriculture part, changing the soil, going ban on fertilizers. They have done without random sampling tests, they have made a rapid decision and rapid change in the agriculture industry years back, for which the country is suffering as one of the reasons. That's not the major reason. And following sea farming methods like what Japan and other countries are doing, they have to learn and adapt. And finally, what I want to say, support small entrepreneurs in their MSME, as I said, to increase GDP. And the country can think of doing conferences and summit like this, bringing all the entrepreneurs of the locals to promote internationally, so that we people come to know what is there available and they can start selling, they can start the livelihood on themselves without depending on the government at this point of time to survive. to survive for some more years until the government is going to give back their support on all areas which they have planned. So, and mental health care and for women and children, the country has to open up to help seek support from us. There are a lot of life coaches in India. We are ready to support the country through online. Now, everything can be done online. They need some confidential support and shoulder to say, yes, we are there. Don't worry, things will change. That's the word they are looking to hear from us. And import of raw materials, taking care that the supply chain management will not stop on any reasons, will help the people, those who are dependent on the raw materials, to produce their own products and sell it. And focusing on tea plantation, bringing it, because they have all the resources. Sri Lanka is not deprived of resources for sure. They have the resources. Planning has to be done, and neighboring countries has to take care of their support, and their things are reaching to them. And that's what, thanks for to me listening very patiently. This is what I feel, the points I could collect from the few days working around it. And beyond this, there are a lot of things to be shared. And thanks. Let me not take so much time. Thank you so much